Hey, Stewart's Chapel, this is Don Pierson and Don Counts, and this is Saturday the 15th of January, and we're continuing in our devotions in the presence of predators, and we are continuing with our look at some of the little foxes, and today we're going to be over in James chapter 3, verse 5 through 6, where the word little, tongue, fire are used a lot. James chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire, that's the words coming out of the mouth, kindles or starts. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the whole course of nature, and it sets on fire, and it is set on fire by hell. By hell. The idea of this little fox that lives within each of us, that is, if it's not bridled by the hands of God, if it's not tamed, if there's no submission to the Holy Spirit and experience some self-control, this little fox isn't something that comes from the outside. It dwells within us. It can destroy relationships. It can lead individuals wrong. Not only, remember yesterday the little leaven, and as we talked about the leaven of legalism and liberalism, or the leaven of Phariseeism and the Pharisee and the leaven of liberalism, that is also spread by the tongue. The power of this to deceive, the power of it to destroy, the power of it to undermine. I made a list of some of the destructive power of this tongue. Now, let me tell you this is not meant to be exhaustive. It is not meant to include all of it. But here's some of the things. This tongue, with its whining, its murmuring, grumbling, and complaining, that was the nature of this little fox of Israel in the wilderness. Constantly whining, constantly murmuring, constantly grumbling, constantly complaining. But this little tongue can also demonstrate itself through the sense of gossip. Anytime, well, let me just give you a heads up. When somebody starts a conversation with me that goes something like this: I have heard, or so-and-so told me, generally my ears perk up and I say, okay, so where are we going to go with this? So obviously it's not firsthand. Often it's not even secondhand. Many times it's not even third hand. They got it from somewhere, but usually when someone comes up and wants to have that kind of conversation, I'm already aware that we're about to enter into the gossip zone. The gossip zone. Gossiping. Critical, negative, judgmental. Those critical, negative, and judgmental also comes from this little fox. It seeks to manipulate individuals. Not just the individual that they're critical or complaining or negative about, but they seek to manipulate others to be against the same one. Critical, complaining, negative, judgmental spirits always look for company. They have a tendency to be like magnets, to have those same kind of people draw near to them, and they feed on one another. Sometimes they're not born that way. A liberal and a legalist can have the judgmental, negative, critical spirit. Sometimes they're not born that way, but they are made that way. That's what Jesus said. They go around making their own converts. Legalism does that. It creates a critical, negative, judgmental spirit. Another thing we do with our tongue, this little fox, is it can be demeaning. It seeks to raise oneself up. Though it's a little thing, it seeks to stand tall. And it's downgrading, and it speaks down, demeaning. It can be deceiving. It can seek to um, to destroy character or the name of an individual. The tongue may be a little member. And the idea of if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. Well, I don't know whether that itself is biblical, because we as Christians are given plenty to proclaim and to tell. But this fox seeks to light a fire in order to consume. The problem is, once that fire is lit, it's not always that one individual that is consumed. Sometimes many are consumed in the same flames that aren't even aware that the flame is coming. I wish I had the ability to smell smoke. Now, I'm not talking about smoke. I can smell smoke. But I wish I had the ability to smell the smoke of this little fox. I think if I had the ability to smell the smoke of this little fox, I would hope that God would give me enough wisdom to run away from the smoke. The Bible makes it very clear that it's a perfect man that doesn't offend with his tongue. I'm not a perfect man. So this little fox is not a respecter of persons. It'll attack all of us. The question, though, with this little fox is, how many of us harbor? I'll tell you a story. A pastor friend of mine, this was many years ago, he would put out cat food outside of his door for a cat. One day he began to realize, he came home and he noticed when he pulled in there was a red fox that was eating from the cat food. He quickly realized that his cat was never getting the cat food, but the fox was. Well, he kept feeding that fox, and he fed that fox. Before long, he had a whole litter of little red fox coming to his cat food. The cat was long gone, but he kept feeding that fox. Several years he did that. That mother would come and have her kits in the same den, and each year she would come and he would feed her. A few years back, I asked him, I said, what happened to that red fox? He said, just disappeared. He said, I saw one dead along the road and she stopped coming. Now that's a sweet, nice, neat, interesting story. Do not feed this fox, because it will move in and stay. And you start feeding this fox, you'll be feeding it for life. This little fox is hard to get. You know why? Because everything that comes from here comes from here. Which means this fox doesn't inhabit the tongue. This fox inhabits a place that has become dark. Beware of the little fox known as the tongue. It can set the whole world on fire, and its fire, its source, comes from hell. Love you, Steers Chapel.